So you talked about meeting culture, and I heard rumors that this next feature can help you improve your meeting culture. How
Ah,
is that?
actually, that is true. That is true. So one of the things is actually you explained this really well. I don't know if you wrote a blog post about this or not, but this concept of obviously meeting feedback is really important. We know meeting
Hmm.
feedback is very important. And I love this kind of analogy that you have around meeting feedback and how meetings evolve over time.
Yeah, I mean, working at Fellow, I've seen how our product team really takes feedback from our users, and the product is constantly evolving, right? Like even today, we're releasing a new version of Fellow, Fellow 4.1. And I've started to look at meetings as products. And I think we should all look at meetings as a product where our attendees are like the users. We need to hear their feedback. We need to ask if they are enjoying the product and then constantly iterate on them. So I've started to look at the meetings that I host as products, and I like to ask attendees for feedback on a recurring basis.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how you get those version upgrades. So one thing that we have always had in Fellow is the ability to give feedback. And there's a few ways to do it. Of course, at the bottom, there's this how was this meeting where you can click on that at any point in time. The other thing, which is if you don't know about this, I'll tell you about it, which is you can click on end meeting. And when you click on this end meeting button, you get the same dialogue. So the same thing that happens, it happens on all the attendee screens. So this is really, really powerful. If you want to get feedback, what I would say is, hey, everybody, take a moment to give us feedback, click the end meeting button, and then you're going to get this dialogue. But one thing that we haven't done in the past is we haven't really shown you in a really nice way how the meeting is evolving over time and what that feedback looks like over the course of time. So what's really nice is I'm going to show you something cool, which is our town hall that we have at Fellow. And when I go to the town hall, we have a feedback tab. And when I go to the feedback tab, you're going to see the analytics for that particular meeting. So in this case, you can see it's been largely positive, but not everybody was ultra, ultra smiley all the time. So that bothers me. I would like it to be ultra smiley all the time. And you can see how the breakdown of the responses is. And the other thing is like, how have things changed over time? Whatever we did on January 20th was really good because we got so much great feedback on that particular day. On February 3rd, I don't know what happened. Maybe not as great on that day. But this is useful stuff, right? You want to get this feedback because that's the way that you improve your meetings. And so very
Yeah.
excited. It's a feedback tab available. And there you have it. Now you have the tools to constantly make those meetings better.
And make, yeah, and constantly improve your meeting culture. I think it's one of our responsibilities as leaders, as managers, to make sure that people are engaged. And I think that meetings are a great way to do that.
So now that we've talked about recurring one-on-ones and we've talked about meeting feedback, which was the other thing, I did want to also mention some other cool things that we have built. One of which is we want to make Fellow very visually conducive to being followed. And sometimes you will have, meeting agendas or notes that start to get a little bit lengthy. And so you can see our talking points here, for example, are a bit long, right? Which is great. We want all the documentation, but sometimes this can make following the meeting a little bit more challenging. So what we've done is we've really worked on being able to make this a lot better. And so there's a new feature that we're going to announce today, which is called nested blocks. And so nested blocks, it's a very technical term, and you don't really need to remember it, but it kind of is very descriptive on how it works. So let's look at this talking point section. You'll notice something new for the astute observers. You would have noticed that there's this little arrow here. And when I click on it, what happens is it collapses, which is really nice. It also shows me how many of those talking points are checked. So if I check that and I collapse it again, you can see 1 out of 5. So it kind of gives us a hint of, where we're at in that particular section. But also it makes it really easy to drag and drop, right? I can move that to the top in that way. I can minimize it and then, move it back down. So a lot of different ways that you can actually use the talking points. So one thing, for example, I can do is, move this, for example, to the top again. And the nice thing is you don't have to even collapse it in order for that to happen. you can see that I can actually move an entire section, and Fellow now knows that anything, and this is the key thing, anything that is indented acts like a child to the parent, which is like the unindented part. So for example, in this case, you see multiple assignees for action items, whether it's checked or unchecked, you have these sub bullets here. So now when I click to move this section, you see that all of the sub items are also linked, which is super powerful.
Very
And
cool.
the reason this is super powerful, and a lot of our power users will
I was
maybe
gonna say power users will know.
power users will know what I'm about to talk about. One of the really great things about Fellow is when you have a recurring meeting and you create a brand new note, what happens is we effectively carry forward incomplete action items, right? So for example, if I have these two things completed and this is a recurring meeting and I go to the next instance of it, you can have those automatically moved forward. And so when I click on a new note, for example, or if I go to the next recurring instance, you'll have the ability to do that. And what's really cool about that now is in the past, you might have been a little bit annoyed because we wouldn't have carried forward the sub items. But now when you do that carry forward, it now recognizes that these indented blocks here are actually part of this parent talking point, and it will do a good job of carrying forward all of those things together, which again, I think is huge.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to say, Aiden, I like to throw some management tips always. And one of the best practices that we've heard from lots of management experts for one-on-ones is also moving your direct reports talking points to the top of the agenda. And I'm someone who writes a lot of points, as you know. So now it's so much easier for managers to just drag all those points up, right? If the direct report has a lot to say.
Yeah, this is so true. And so just to give people a visual of this as well, I went to the next recurring instance of this event. And when I click on yes, it's going to carry forward the talking points, does a good job of taking all the nested blocks. And it only, of course, takes the things that have not already been completed. And again, like this one, it just depends on your settings. So if you don't have, by the way, this carrying forward checked off, you can always click on the lightning icon here and then check out your carry forward settings. And I have it set as ask me, so it'll ask me whether I want to or not, but you can also set it as always or never, so that carrying forward happens automatically.
And just a reminder for our users that this is really helpful to keep your meetings on track and on time. So basically what we're doing here is you have a list of talking points. You might not be able to go through all those talking points in one meeting, but then you carry them forward to your next meeting to make sure that the meeting ends on time. So everything we're doing here is to make sure your meetings are more effective.
100%. And so, the other thing is I want to mention two quick honorable mention features is if I go to my test meeting here, I just want to point out that now if your meeting has a recording, whether you're using Zoom, Google Meet, MS Teams, that recording, we're automatically going to grab that in and we're going to put that in Fellow, or if it's meeting attachments. So these will exist. There will be a view attachment button or a view recording button that automatically shows up. And there's even a nice little notification that I like. Sometimes on my Apple Watch, I'll get a notification that, oh, the meeting video has been uploaded, and then I can click and watch that. So again, very particularly useful so you can have everything in one place. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is just we've done some nice quality of life improvements. So now when you do something like, say, you want to link to Wikipedia or something like that, you can always provide the link. But now when you actually grab a link from somewhere else, let me actually go to a Wikipedia page myself.
I think I ruined the surprise, Aiden, because I pasted a link and it showed this first. So
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you already showed it to us.
go.
I guess this is when you're doing live launches sometimes. Sometimes we ruin the surprise. But basically, we now have these nice little URL pills that exist. Again, a quality of life improvement. Looks really great, gives you a sense that it's visual link, just another really nice thing that we've added here.
Yeah, it looks organized, makes the agenda look very nice, which obviously is always, we're constantly thinking about making the experience a delightful one. And yeah, I'm so excited about all these features, Aiden. And like you said, Stay tuned because Shannon, our product manager, is coming up to show us one more feature. Thank you for showing us these features. And now let's welcome Shannon to show us this really cool update. Shannon, welcome back. It's great to see you again.
It's so great to be here for another product launch.
I hear you have an exciting update to share with us that a lot of our enterprise customers have requested, right? Now, without further ado, why don't you go ahead and show us your exciting update?
So we've made some updates to our Salesforce integration based on feedback from our customers about how we can improve this integration to suit the way that they've configured Salesforce and the workflows that they use in Salesforce. So what we're looking at here is a meeting with an attendee who's a contact in my Salesforce. And you can see on the right-hand side that we're pulling in information about that contact, about the account, and deals related to that contact. And the new change that we've introduced is you can now send notes from Fellow as a note in Salesforce. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So when you click on Send Note to Salesforce, you'll be able to select the object that you want to relate it to. So in this case, I'm relating it to a contact, an account. I'm going to quickly send that over. And then I can see this note that's been created in Salesforce and related to those two objects. And the reason why we made this change is a couple of reasons. You're able to relate the note to multiple objects, which can help you relate all the important information about that meeting. We can also maintain the formatting from your Fellow note to the Salesforce note, which is really great because it makes it easier for you to read that note within Salesforce. And then the last thing is, depending on how you've had your page layout configured in Salesforce, the notes will show up together, which makes it more easy to find that note when you're looking back historically at what are the conversations that you've had with the customer.
That is really cool, Shannon. And I can already see how this is really helpful for those customer facing roles who are already using Fellow for their internal meetings and want to continue using Fellow to take notes for those external ones. So, wow, everything just works very seamlessly.
Yeah, we know capturing information about your customer meetings is really essential for yourself and for your teammates to be able to see the progress of the relationship that you have with that customer and what you've talked about previously. But building that habit can be really difficult. And we make that easier by easily going to the note that you have for the meeting with the client, quickly capturing your notes during that meeting. And then with a couple clicks, you can send that over to Salesforce so that all the information related to all the meetings you've had with that client are contained within Salesforce.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for showing us that update and for making sure that our team builds such awesome features to make people's meetings more efficient.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.